Hello everyone, how are we doing? This is the Celtic Way morning briefing for Wednesday the 31st of January. As you can see, Ryan has had enough. He's totally fed up. This month has been too much for him. He's absent without leave. No, he's not. I don't know what he's up to today, but he's just, I guess he's got leave. So it's just me, Hamish, and Tony is on with me as well. A very disgruntled Tony for many reasons, but a job reason as well. I believe you had an article penned on a certain player, and it's now void, basically.
It's in the ether somewhere. It was about Gustaf Lagerbielke, but that's hey, it is what it is. And I know what Ryan's up to tonight. He's going to see Depeche Mode tonight with his old man. So right,
just can't get enough.
He just can't get enough. Exactly. Yes,
yeah.
Indeed.
Celtic song, of course, a big Celtic song. Always liked that version. You don't really hear it. Celtic don't really play it anymore, do they?
No, but it was always good fun when it came on.
Will we just talk about music today?
I would love to talk about music today. Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, because I was going to reference an old Cat Stevens song. It was reference to the Lowell and Son, their work's never done. They never signed someone good, as in Matthew and Son, for those who are old enough to remember that, yeah. But there you go.
It's not just you, I'm struggling as well, everyone.
Oh, it's alright, the guys like Pete McGee and Steve McGrory will know that. Yeah, Cat Stevens, I believe. But there you go.
Fabulous. Hopefully things take an upturn from this point, I'll be honest.
We'd like to think so, aye.
It's not been a strong start to Wednesday's morning briefing. It's going to get stronger though, because this video is sponsored by MPH Group and Navien. MPH, as you know, Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trades specialists, and they cover mainland Scotland. If you're in that area and are thinking of giving your home heating system a boost this winter, they have a Navien Boiler Winter Promotion just for you. It includes a Navien Internet Controller as well. MPH offer flexible finance options too, so you can make the smart move. And on the subject of smart moves, let's get on to what is happening with regards Celtic at the moment. We'll come on to the Lagerbielke stuff and a rather potentially worrying side story from that. It does seem like we have our striker. From the looks of things, Norwich City and Republic of Ireland forward Adam Idah will be heading to Celtic on loan. He had been in talks with Serie A side Verona, but wants to move to Celtic apparently after hearing about our interest. Who can blame him? The irony here is that this deal has only been given the green light after Norwich agreed a deal for Sidney Van Hooijdonk. Yes, the same Sidney Van Hooijdonk, son of Pierre, linked with Celtic both in the summer and this month. So he looks like he's going to head to Norwich, and him moving to Norwich basically means that we are going to get Adam Idah. So we're looking at Kyogo Furuhashi, Hyungwoo Oh, and Adam Idah as our front line to hopefully take us to the league title. The comments are just absolutely flying in about Adam Idah. First of all, do you know anything about him? He's one of these players, like I know the name, but I've never watched him play.
I've heard the name and I've seen him play for Ireland a couple of times, but I'd be lying if I said that I knew him inside out. I think he's got one goal, hasn't he? And I read somewhere he's got 17 career goals to date. And I kind of went with Chris Sutton's view, because Chris Sutton always keeps his eye and tabs on what Norwich are doing, because it's one of his former clubs. And he said he wasn't the finished article and he didn't think he was much of an upgrade on O. So that, to me, was worrying from the bat. It's not the boy's fault. I will give him every chance when he comes. I will make up my own mind when I do the eye test. And if he comes for Celtic, you obviously wish him all the best and you hope that he does score goals. But, you know, the whole Sidney Van Hooijdonk thing as well. I mentioned Samuel Beckett on the pod the other week, didn't I? We are now entering the realms of the theatre of the absurd. Celtic, we are in that play that I was talking about. It's just, it beggars belief, Hamish, the way Celtic have conducted their business in this January window. Unbelievable. And, you know, those kind of things just just strikes you as being staggering incompetence. We are getting the guy that Norwich don't want, yet we were in for the guy allegedly, or interested in the guy that they're taking. Somebody has to make that make sense to me. They have to. And then on you go. Sorry,
I'm struggling to make sense of it myself. I'll be honest. I think we're all in a little bit of a difficult place with this because we can only call it as we see it right now. And I'll be totally honest. Like, it's a pretty underwhelming signing. When I saw the name, I was kind of underwhelmed. That was my initial reaction to it. Having said that, we have had players, come to Celtic and really surprise us and do really well for the club. We've also had players who have come with big reputations and not performed. So I don't think anyone really wants to write Idah off. And, he could come and be an important player or prove to be an important player. And having him is better than not having a third forward. But I just think we could have signed better here. And I just I'm almost questioning kind of what the point is almost. I know we need a third forward, but is he going to be better than O? I personally don't think so. I think people underrate O a fair bit. I know he's not quite really done it for us yet, but this is a player who plays for the South Korea international team, or is certainly on the fringes of that, and I think he has a lot of potential. And I just wonder if Idah's going to be an improvement. I would really doubt that, and he's certainly not going to be in Kyogo. And I kind of don't get the point in making signings when they aren't going to really be better than a better player. I think every signing we make, it might not always happen, but the intention should be for them to come in and be a first team player. I must say I have my doubts over Idah coming in and being a first team player. I don't think he's going to be some kind of questioning what we're doing, but also, as I say, he could come in and really surprise us, and I really don't want to write him off at all, but it's hard not to feel underwhelmed, I would say.
Underwhelmed and disillusioned by it all, and it's no slight on Adam either. We don't know what he'll bring to the party. We hope, that's the thing, we're hoping that he comes in and does something. People that have seen him and talk about him were not overly impressed. So we were hoping that, why bring somebody in on loan then, like that? Why not go and just sign somebody? Because the means are there, and they can talk about a difficult window all they want. They've had months to plan this. They knew about the Asian Cup. Celtic knew they needed a left back, a goalkeeper, a striker in the summer. Rodgers wanted quality, he got quantity, and none of them, or 9 out of 10, aren't good enough to play first team football for Celtic. What a damning indictment that is of your whole recruitment process. You can't escape that, and they can't be allowed to wriggle off the hook on that. And it's clear from Rodgers' original feeling about Lagerbielke that he's been handed substandard players that he's either refusing to work with, or he's making a point and saying this is no longer going to happen. And that point is now being dragged out to this point where the club are now scrambling about trying to find XYZ who might have been on a list, who might not have been on a list. And there's just no cohesion there. There doesn't seem to be any structure. As I say, theatre of the absurd. It's just absurd now what Celtic are up to. And I think it's an appalling way to treat the rank and file supporters. They don't expect much, Hamish, but they expected something in this window, and they're leaving it disillusioned, and people talking about protesting and all that. It's outrageous from a supposed position of strength as well, and from people at the top who told you at the AGM that their aim in every window is to come out of it stronger than they went into it. Don't see any evidence of that, and I don't see any evidence of any cohesion or a plan that they can make that happen for Celtic moving forward.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's the big takeaway I would take away from this kind of Idah chat. Is it seems very desperate. It seems very last minute. It just seems in stark contrast to what we've seen over the previous two seasons, where business was done early, and it was we kind of moved away from the English game, and we're looking global now. I know we did a lot of global stuff in the summer, and most of it, as you say, hasn't worked out, but this just feels like a big sea change. Maybe it's Brendan Rodgers getting involved more. There's a few comments in here. Does Brendan walk? And are we as fans not far behind him? Doc Boy saying if Rodgers sanctioned this move, he may as well walk now. The Rodgers chat is kind of growing. I think it will be interesting to see his next press conference. But I get the impression from Rodgers that he'll kind of be all right with this. I genuinely, maybe in his head he's surely hoping for better players coming to the club, but I just think publicly we won't see anything, because we haven't so far really, apart from after that Champions League game where I can't remember what one it was, maybe Atletico Madrid, and he came out and he said we need quality, we need first team players, and there's been no evidence of that this January. But I just feel we'll kind of won't really see that from Rodgers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would have more respect from Hamish if he did walk and then told us why, because it was history repeating himself from the first time when he left, and just came out and stuff any non-disclosure agreements. Just say, I'm leaving because of X, Y, and Z. But I don't think he will. I think, and I don't see him sanctioning Adam Idah per se. I just think he's exasperated, probably to the point where he said, "Have you got anything for me?" And they probably went this, and he's just like, having to grin and bear it. But I want to know how hands-on he is with this process, because if he's not, he should be, and he's clearly saying to those in the recruitment department of the team, it's not good enough. And Celtic will, and as I say, it's not Adam Idah's fault. I'm willing to give him. I mean, there's people in the comments saying don't write him off, and yourself and myself are not writing this guy off. We are saying the processes that lead to him coming to the club smack of desperation. This isn't the player's fault. I can't speak too much about the player, because I've only seen him a couple of times in passing, and he's not somebody that leapt out at me. But so fine. There are players that have come as well who, people were saying Chris Sutton himself came and he was branded a flop after what happened at Chelsea. The first question I put to him as well when I stood outside Celtic Park. He's been labelled a flop, and he gave me the Chris Sutton stare and laughed. But yeah, so I get all that. So if Adam Idah comes into Celtic Park, he will get every Celtic supporter's support in that sense, and we hope that he does the business. But it's the optics, isn't it, of it all?
Yeah.
The optics just don't look good.
Yeah, a few people mentioned Bojan Miovski, and Shankland thrown in there as well, Raymond, and there's certainly been a few other people mentioning Miovski. And to me, again, nothing against Idah, but Miovski's just a much more obvious option, and Shankland to an extent as well. But I get the impression Miovski's a more doable one for the club, and we know the money's there to sign Bojan Miovski. We know he's not going to cost. The maximum he would cost would probably be 5 million, and the money is there for that. I think he's at a good age, would be a good signing. I don't know this for sure, but I would assume that Miovski would be interested in moving from Aberdeen to Celtic. Of course he would. So I would just question why that's not a deal we're doing, and why we're going down the Idah route. And when fans can see stuff like that, it becomes frustrating. But as I say, and I want to emphasise this, Idah will get his chance, and could do well for the club, but we can only call it as we see it.
In terms of Miovski, yeah, I mean, even Shankland to an extent, those deals seem the biggest no-brainers for Celtic. People say, but they'll not take Celtic to the next level, that they won't score goals in Europe. Celtic aren't in Europe at this moment in time. Celtic are in a dogfight to win the Premiership title. Those two guys mentioned can score goals in the Scottish Premiership because they've proven they've done it this season. So again, Miovski as well. Miovski ticks a lot of boxes, doesn't he? And you say to yourself, why? I know there was speculation, but why no concrete bid? And unless they pull some kind of rabbit out of the hat in the next, I don't know what we got, It's 11:30, isn't it? Thursday night, isn't it? So there you go.
It might be 11 actually. I thought I saw 11:30, but
I think it's
saw
11.
articles saying 11.
I think it's 11:30. But I mean, the Majowski one just strikes as being derelict. Somebody being derelict in their duty at Celtic. Because I would take Majowski in a heartbeat because he would score goals to help you in your quest to win the title.
Yeah.
Would he score goals in the Champions League? We'll find that out if Celtic qualify for the Champions League and you sign them. So at this minute, you live in the here and now. And in the here and now, Celtic are trying to win the Scottish Premiership title for the third season in a row. And nothing fills you with optimism in this January window that they've recruited well enough to go on and do that, despite the fact that they're 5 points clear at the top table at this minute in time, with Rangers having a game in hand.
Yeah, I guess the final point I would make is that signing Idah isn't going to have a negative effect on us or an impact on us winning or not winning the league. I would argue he's maybe not going to feature a hell of a lot. Kyogo, I mean, O doesn't feature a lot, so why would anyone else? Maybe the only way would be if, God forbid, Kyogo was to pick up an injury, but I think it's just underwhelming, and it kind of adds to this frustration that's been bubbling for a long time with the board. And we're kind of holding out for maybe wrongly, we were holding out for maybe not a big name, but an attractive proposition up front. Idah could still be that, but he just doesn't seem to have that caliber or whatever. Claire saying, why struggle? Give the guy a chance. We have had worse at our great club. We support whoever comes to a great club. I don't think anyone's not going to support Adam Idah, but as I say, we can only call it as we see it at this point. Alexander saying, pretty simple. Sydney wanted to go to Norwich and the other boy wanted to sign. It's as simple as that. He needs his head checked in Sydney if he wants to sign for Norwich. He said he was. I'm sorry, but that's the way it is. John Boy saying, I'll give the guy a chance, but the dithering is an absolute disgrace. I'm genuinely not going back until Lowell is out. He's steering our club into reverse. If we move on, still hopeful and praying, I guess, for a left back to come in. For me, that's always been the priority this window. However, can't say I'm particularly hopeful or excited about who that's going to be. I'm assuming we're going to get a name. It's going to be a similar level to Idah. It's going to be an English player playing in England on loan for the rest of the season. Is that what we're expecting at left back?
Yeah, I'm expecting a loan player to come in, and possibly not, to be fair, but they did say they were looking at loan players from England, so I'm assuming there'll be another name thrown into the mix at some point. Well, there's going to have to be another name thrown into the mix at some point today or some point tomorrow if they do conclude a bit of business for a left back loanee. But you just can't get away from the fact that it's been as underwhelming as the Willow Flood window of 2009, which I spoke to you about just prior to coming on here.
Yeah, we actually looked up who we signed that window. I think it was Willow Flood, the Twardzik brothers, Milan Misun, and you can include Niall McGinn as well, who signed on the 16th of December, strangely. So that was a Hall of Famer. Someone was asking there about, Francis it was, who said we're signing Idah. There's nothing on the Celtic website. Yeah, nothing on the Celtic website because it's not official yet, but it seems very much like it's going to happen. Numerous outlets reporting that Adam Idah will be signing for Celtic on loan for the rest of the season. It's not guaranteed to happen. We've seen stuff, not happen in the past, but it's certainly heading that way. If we move to the other news, just quickly, centre-back news, Scott McKenna has signed for Copenhagen, which is an interesting one. So he won't be coming to us. Scott McKenna in the last 16 of the UEFA Champions League, Tony, that's one hell of a rise for that guy, but in a strange way might be a decent fit for him, but obviously he's not coming to Celtic. Nat Phillips, don't worry, he's definitely not coming back to Celtic. He signed for Cardiff City, I saw, for the second half of the season, which again, I don't mean to just annoy fans of Cardiff and Norwich and teams like that. I assume they're not watching this anyway, but Nat Phillips signing for Cardiff for the second half of the season and he was at Celtic at the first half, it just kind of puts the fear into you a little bit that was a guy we were kind of hanging our hat on at one stage this season, and he's now away to Cardiff City. In terms of actual Celtic news, Celtic said to have pulled the plug on Gustaf Lagerbielke's move to Lecce. That's reported to be due to injury concerns over Cameron Carter-Vickers. Now that in itself is a real worry. We'll chat about that. Italian outlet Tutto Mercato Web have actually got quotes from Lagerbielke, which I kind of had to double check they were genuine, and it was a genuine website, but which is interesting in its own way, the fact that Lagerbielke has been speaking to them. He said, or is quoted as saying, "Lecce has shown a very strong interest in me. I want to go, play and make a difference." And to be honest, Tony, I don't think you can blame Lagerbielke for that.
No, well, let's see what we've got here. We've got a player who the manager is clearly deemed he doesn't fancy and he doesn't rate him, right? We now have a centre-back who we offered a 5.5-year deal to, who's now contracted another injury. But we now have an unhappy player at the club who wants to leave because he knows what the manager and everybody think. Well, the manager thinks of him at the club. And he's the only one guy you need to impress. It's the manager in order to play football matches. And he's not done enough in Brendan Rodgers' eyes to play football matches. So he's sitting at the airport waiting to go and do this deal. And then the plug's pulled on it. How would you feel if you're Lagerbielke? He's been treated quite appallingly. And now you've got a guy who spit the dummy. Could you trust him to come in and play? Because he knows that certain people at the club don't want him to be there, i.e. the manager. So I would let him go. I've got to be honest. I just don't think you need an unhappy player at your club. And again, I don't blame Gustaf Lagerbielke for that. People will say he's maybe not had enough. There's not enough sample size of games. But the manager has told you all along what he's seen at training and all that kind of stuff. So, I can understand Lagerbielke. I think he spoke about as well that a lot of Swedes have played for Lecce, and it's a kind of a good club in the past, and it's his kind of dream to play in Serie A. So fine, I would let him go, because I don't particularly want an unhappy player at the club, and for his own sake, let him go and get games and see if he can come back and and make some kind of difference, because he'll still not play, will he? I'm assuming.
I mean, he's basically been. What is he, maybe fifth? So if we say Carter-Vickers, Scales, Nawrocki and Welsh are all ahead of him, you would agree at least he's fifth choice. If CCV is out of the picture, which, as I say, the fact that we are willing to call a transfer off, according to reports, due to Carter-Vickers' injury, suggests to me it's not a short-term thing, and that's incredibly worrying. More worrying than anything else we spoke about in this video, in my opinion, that Carter-Vickers could be missing for a period of time. But even if he's missing, if that only knocks Lagerbielke up to fourth choice, then he's still not going to see much football. And from his point of view, I have nothing against him. I'd like him to go out and play. I think it's almost unfair that he'd be kept around to be fourth choice. Chilpil making a point here, just saying let him go and bring Bosun Lawal back from Fleetwood. And I mean, from what I'm hearing about how Bosun Lawal's getting on, I saw some comments from their manager Charlie Adam actually speaking really positively about him. I think if there is an option to bring Lawal back, then I think that would make much more sense than keeping Lagerbielke there. It's just,
hasn't Lawal morphed into a central midfielder, they were saying?
All right.
He's not.
Possibly.
Yeah, because I think they did the opposite with Idah. Idah was a central midfielder, wasn't he? Who then became a centre back. I think Lawal has morphed into a central midfielder, I've seen, and quite a dynamic one and a powerful one at that.
Okay, that's interesting.
It is interesting. So I'm thinking, all right, okay. And I think Charlie Adam was speaking about that. So it's very weird. But, I feel sorry for Lagerbielke, I have to say. He's just in one of those limbo situations. And again, the club haven't covered himself in glory with this either, have they? I know they can't legislate for the fact that Cameron Carter-Vickers... originally, Brendan Rodgers said the plan was to play Cameron Carter-Vickers for an hour and take him off anyway on Saturday and nurse him back. So I think, as you say, the biggest concern about that is that Cameron Carter-Vickers is now picking up more injuries than he ever did. in his career. So I think that's a huge concern. Having just signed a 5.5 year deal, and you're just like, wow. So here's hoping they can get to the bottom of that swiftly. But you have to feel a bit for Lagerbielke, and again, get back to it as well. The whole recruitment process too. Lagerbielke was bought for £3 million. Who sanctioned this? Who gave the go ahead for this footballer to come to this club? And within a couple of months, not even a couple of months, Brendan Rodgers has deemed him not good enough. And again, you go back to that and say, right, well, who had the final say on this? I know Brendan Rodgers said there wasn't a player that came into the club that he doesn't have the final say on, and he was well into his managerial tenure at that point when Lagerbielke came in. So I think he came in August. So something's not right here. The truth lies somewhere in between about who is signing off on these players.
Yeah, I love it saying here, getting right tired of all the grim news coming out of our club. So much unrest, seemingly keeping Lager, who Rodgers does not like, and unbelievably keeping McCarthy too low. Unbelievable. And to be honest, just reading that comment, just like it just seems like things are so disjointed at the moment, and like we just want to be here, talking positively. I just loved that period, the last couple of years prior to this season, when it seemed like we had things sorted transfer wise, and praising the club for, remember we signed Alistair Johnson before Juranovic was sold a few days later, and just praising the club for having things in order, and it's just gone back to nonsense, man. And it's like,
what did we do in those 2 years, Hamish? We acted like a big club. We were the best version of Celtic that we could possibly be, and we reaped the rewards for it, didn't we?
And remember all that chat from Postecoglou about, we need to be agile in the transfer window, and basically we're going to sign players for a wee bit more money and then sell them for even more than before, and then maybe buy a wee bit more, and that's how you make the growth and cut the gap in the Champions League and all that stuff. And it's just not happened, and it's just strange. And I still believe we're going to have a good season. I still think we're going to win the league. I still think we could win the Scottish Cup, the double, and look back at this as being a good season, because we've got, for me, the best manager in the country. We've still got the best squad in the country, but we're not doing everything to help ourselves here. And I mean, if we get a left back in, great. But I think we had a chance this January to really give ourselves that real opportunity to go and win the league. And as I say, I'm very hopeful and believe we will, but we're not giving ourselves every opportunity.
We're not being the best version of ourselves that we can be, are we? Let's be honest. Those 2 years were brilliant, and Michael Nicholson took all the plaudits, and we loved coming on these broadcasts and your platform at the time and praising the board. It's not something we Celtic do a lot, but see that kind of period when like guys like ourselves were, it was very refreshing, because you thought, wow, they really do have their ducks in a row. They're approaching these things in the best possible way, and they were representing the club the way you wanted the club to be represented in the transfer market, on the park, off the park. Everything was magic. And as you say, it's the regression since our former manager left has been bewildering. It's also been pretty spectacular as well in terms of regression, and it's all pointing in the one direction, isn't it? Into the same people, isn't it? And it's and what can you do to force change? You just feel that you're powerless, and you get served this up continually, and every time it's served up, you end up losing the league title, or and my feelings are Celtic should have gone on from this position of supposed strength, and as you say, especially this window, and shown this is how you get something over the line. I still think that with the manager that we've got in situ, that we will win the title, but that hope has regressed a bit in my head, in my mind as well, due to this window. but I'm still believe that he can get the best out of the players that he has there, and get it over the line. But trust me, you're in a struggle now to win this title. And that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, Blake pointing out, or maybe hopefully not, telling us what the future could look like. He says if this window closes with no decent signings and Celtic lose the league, the fans are going to be demanding the board out come the summer. Scott saying surely Rodgers knows he's going to be asked where are the quality signings he banged on about all month. He 100% is going to be asked. I don't know if a Celtic fan media outlet will be in place whenever he does his press conference, but I'd be interested to see if he is quizzed on that and how he responds. Is this his game to call out the laws? Andrew saying our treble winning squad with good young additions all of a sudden play at crawling pace. Rodgers is to blame, and Kevin, the club has no ambition from the top down. Embarrassing decisions being made by board members. I'm always wary when we do these kind of videos, and there's been a lot of them recently, that not everyone feels this way. We just try and I do my best to try and kind of mirror what the majority of the comments say and give us a wider view. The vast majority, if not virtually everything we've had in today's stream, has been very critical of the club, those in power at the club, and I think it's fair to say, I think that the vast majority of Celtic fans feel that way at the moment, Tony.
That's a fair reflection, is it not, of the mood music, getting back to music again. But it's true, isn't it? I think everybody's underwhelmed and disillusioned, and the next thing comes anger, doesn't it? Frustration. These feelings are going to boil over in the next 24 hours. It's a certainty.
Yeah. Any positive stuff you want to?
Positive, we're still top of the league.
Can you be anything personal in your life, mate? Anything good going on?
No, I'm aware of. No, as you said, on Monday they're still top of the league. They're a 6-game winning streak, aren't they? Yeah. So you have to take it there. You're heading to Aberdeen on Saturday. Usually a happy hunting ground for Celtic. Yeah. And
they don't have a forward that could possibly do damage.
Hurt your title ambitions, they might well do. Not only that, he takes a mean penalty as well. Who'd have thunk it that they'd maybe be interested in a guy that can score goals for fun for an Aberdeen team, struggling Aberdeen team, and takes a good penalty? Who'd have thought that person, someone like that, would be a person of interest, Hamish?
They're struggling as well. Aberdeen. Matthew here saying Saturday's going to be the most toxic atmosphere in the history of Scottish football. Obviously, both teams not happy with things at the moment. They're maybe even more unhappy than us right now.
Yes, indeed. Listen, Hamish, 708, 710 people joining us. That's incredible numbers for a live stream. So we thank you guys. Thanks for getting involved in the comments as well. We try our best, as Hamish said, to reflect what people are saying, and I know people don't like the negativity per se, but we try and always be positive, but it's pretty hard to be positive at this moment in time, isn't it, with regard to Celtic? And we, again, if Idah comes in, he'll get the full support of people like myself and Hamish. Someone saying Idah is now a done deal. That's one of the comments there.
Are we trusting one Celtic fan's view?
Don't know.
Have they got a track record for scoops?
Oh, sure. Seamus Gallagher says it's a great show anyway. But listen, we always big up the positives at Celtic on this show. We always try to. But it's frightening that the majority of people are in agreement with us today, Hamish, about, they're unhappy, like putting it mildly. Yeah.
It's the ambition for me.
But
the one positive I would say is, so far, and I know we've had some setbacks on the pitch this season, but the vast majority of the negative stuff is off the pitch. The team do seem to still be, we're still top of the league. 6 wins in a row, but I think that the fear is that the team haven't been massively convincing at all this season either. But Saturday's a new game, Tony. Tomorrow's a new day as well. We're going to head off for now. Thanks everyone for tuning in, commenting, liking. Some people have even left a wee angry face reaction on Facebook. I assume that's towards those in power at Celtic and not us too, but if it is towards us too, we won't take it too personally. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. We will speak to you this time tomorrow.